today's talk has nothing to do with psychology. I was telling what's your name? I'm sorry. Tony? I told Tony that every time you want to attract a crowd, you add the word psychology to, to your title, and people will come. Or in graduate school, we learned that if you want a research grant, you add the word in space. Grad means in space. So every time you add that, people will come, you get a research grant. All right, on to the good stuff. I've broken stuff into 3 parts. I'll spend half an hour talking about myself, and then I won't. Just 20 minutes or so. And then I'll briefly explain what I mean by red bars and green bars. That itself is a talk because it describes a lot of explains a lot of why we debate with business people. Right? In Microsoft, we like to talk about the B activity, why the business experience and technology people. Why do we keep fighting? Why do we keep struggling? But that's not my talk. My talk is more about what I call the maxims. All right, and I'll explain what that is in a second. So, quick information about me, so you know I'm not that much of a charlatan. My background is in experimental psychology, and some of you may think that you are wasting your time in graduate school. You are not, because I spent 4 years of my time earning my PhD by looking at people tap their fingers. So 4 years was equivalent perceptually of 8 years. So my background was in human timing, and I took an interest in human-computer interaction shortly after because I realized that no one cares about finger taps. So I'll move on to something else. Professionally, I'm a user researcher. I started with Visual Studio, so my heart is very close to the developer. I like to code. I play with ActionScript, PHP, C#, VB, stuff like that. So my heart is very close to the developer, and I try to think like one, but I'm a user researcher. More recently, I joined the Entertainment Experience Group. This group owns the Windows Phone that's going to come out, available at your local stores, and Xbox and other good stuff. But on my free time, I like to write. I managed to squeeze one book out. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was, but it was fun. And the book is called Designing and Engineering Time, available on your local bookstore and at Amazon.com. I'm trying to work on a second book called Software Personality Disorders, and pretty much it looks at software usability as a personality disorder. So leveraging psychology to the world. So certain software are rude, right? So, but that's not what this talk is about. All right, red bar, green bar. Okay, this is my belief that when we talk about metrics and bars and standards, there are really 2 types of bars, and I have to give credit to Dennis Vixen for teaching me this. Now, the red bar is really what you want to exceed to stay afloat. It has nothing to do with delighting customers. The green bar is the bar you need to exceed to delight customers. So we're really talking about 2 different bars, and I'll give you more examples. Now, so above the green bar, you have you increase the probability of satisfaction. Right? If you sink underneath the red bar, and these are just my words, so give it whatever name you want. Right? If you sink beneath the red bar, your probability of user satisfaction goes up. And anything in between is really chance or ambivalence. Now, we all know what this is, right? Come on!
It's part of a motor.
It's part of a motor.
Part of the Surface too.
That's where the 200 pounds is concentrated in. No, this is saving your life. Well, this may have saved your life at many points.
ABS.
Do you know what it is?
ABS.
Very good, ABS, yes. I didn't expect you guys to know this. Now, ABS, having ABS in your cars, is that a red bar or green bar? Depends, right? Oh, 1970s, if you have ABS in your car, you are hot shit. ABS. And if your model has ABS and the other model doesn't have ABS, that car is better. It's a green bar, it's a delighter, right? Roll back about 10, 15 years ago, okay, no big deal. Today, I think it's illegal for you to make a car without ABS, right? And you see this happening again and again. I think years ago they started a more intelligent version of ABS. By the way, ABS works when your wheels lock up, and what it does, it pretty much just allows your your tires to at least move a little bit at a time, so you won't skid out of control. And maybe a newer evolution of this actually controls it differential adjustments, so that if your car is, if the left wheel is moving faster than the right wheel, they know that your car is in the wrong, moving in the wrong direction, and it will adjust for that. Swap So here we go. This is us. This is your lightning in a bottle. Hot stuff. 2008. 2009. All right. Pretty cool. When you do a search and they give you suggestions, big deal. We all have it today, right? Today, you better have it. If you don't have it, users are going to be upset. But if you deliver it, don't expect a pat on the back. Right? That's why I tell my teams that I work with, this is really important. We need to make sure we exceed this bar. But when you do, please don't expect reviewers to go like, oh my God, Microsoft has done it. No, it's a very minimum bar that you have to attain. And today's talk is a lot about meeting that red bar, making sure we don't sink below that red bar, because that's where essential human experiences are talked about. You do not want to violate anything the red bar is. And I'll give you, let's go into the red bars. Now the maxims, just give you some background. It's empirically based. We did a bunch of research over the years, and there were just things that kept coming up, and we realized that, wait a minute, there's some core first principle sort of lessons that we can learn from this. Instead of redoing research every time, re-researching every time, there are really things that we can extract out and run with, right? So we originally christened it Surface Usability Maxims, but later I realized that it's more about surface. It's beyond surface. It's about what today we may call a new user experience, a natural user experience. Now, what changes and what doesn't change? Well, technology changes, trend changes, and those things are beyond our control, right? But some things don't change, right? A pinch today feels, well, if I were to pinch you today, and if I were to pinch you 100 years from now, the speed at which you detect the pain is about the same. I think it would be the same. Unless humans have evolved some weird nervous system, the speed will be about the same, right? And as a side note, if you remember your nervous system or your neuroscience 101, pain has a dedicated highway to your brain. Right? You know how sensation goes from one side of the hand to the other side of the brain. But for pain, it goes directly across from the spinal cord up to immediately to your cortex, because there's of a survival mechanism. If there's pain, you need to withdraw the hand. So that's not the psychology. So all this is very deja vu, right? We keep seeing it, and it's very soup du jour. It's happening today. Surface, metal, and all that good stuff. And I totally made up the last French word. It's I binged it, and it has a close French meaning of the future. And you know what I'm trying to say. It seemed to speak a lot about the future, and the only way this can be true is there's a constant throughout the past, the present, and the future. And I'm going to talk about those constants. Number one, action-reaction law, totally borrowed from our dear friend Newton. This third law, I used to call this Newton's 3.1 law of reaction, because it's a modified version of it. Well, what are we talking about? We're talking about the UI giving some kind of a reaction. And I need to, well, we'll get to that part later. So all user action must yield a reaction by the system, even if the action is accidental. And I'll explain why in a minute. Now here's the equation. If you apply force from object 1 to object 2, there will be an opposing force minus F from object 2 back to object 1. There's some scholars who contest the legitimacy of this argument, but we'll leave it at that. Now, physical laws come for free, right? Gravity, friction, all that comes for free. We don't have to define anything. This is not a movie where you wake up and you type into your computer, I would like a gravity of 0.52 when I go to work, and then I want 0.22 when I... You don't do that. That's free. You don't have to pay a single cent for physical laws. But the products that we built needs certain sort of laws to make it behave the way it should. And those laws are defined by us. We get to define how things behave. I can code a simple app with a button, and when you press the button, it depresses 5 seconds later. I get to control the law, and we get to control the law, right? In a way. Now, UI feedback, let me just run it. It promotes user flow and responsiveness. It's very hard to put the word user flow and responsiveness together because one is about time, and the other one is not about time. If you read the work of Csikszentmihalyi, he talks about user flow. And when users are in a state of flow, time doesn't matter. Right? I fight with a lot of my colleagues, so in a healthy way, debate, about flow, because flow defies a lot of logic that we have learned from textbooks. If there's flow, it's okay to make users go through 5 clicks, if there's flow. So a 5-click action may be better than a 3-click action if the 5-click action has a better flow to it. Because when users get into the flow, they forget time. Number 2, it acknowledges users' action. Right? It's rude for someone to not respond to you when you say hi to them. Right? And primarily, it's not for the system. It's for the user. It's looping back to the user. And it can be arbitrarily defined by the user. That is, it doesn't mean that the user is enslaved to your feedback. They can look at the hard drive threshing, they can look at little blinks, they can hear little sounds, the whizzing, and to them that's feedback. Now, UI feedback is not just used for, this is really a message for engineers, as you can tell, right? Guys, come on! UI feedback is not a confirmation of things, of a process finishing. Right? You search for something, hit enter, nothing happens when the result comes back, you go, ding! No, we don't want that. It's not about that. It's not a termination indication. And it's not a reward system. Our users are not rats, right? Unless you're building some kind of medical scientific instrument. Our users are not rats. We're not going to use it to sort of classically condition them to do certain things. So that was why, even if the action is accidental, we have to give feedback. Now, I'll give you more examples. So do broaden your definition of feedback. And feedback is not just visual. We are very visual creatures, and we think visual, oh, the little blink, the little shine, the little click, the little movement, whatever. It goes to a lot, and beyond this little list that I put together. It could be haptic, and it could be tactile, right? You know the difference between haptic and tactile, right? The haptic has a bit more force to it. I know Hugh McClune is sitting here, so he's like, or it could be visual, it could be auditory, it could be a little beat, a little click. And auditory doesn't mean the digital or the wave file or whatever file that you're playing. It could be the button that you press that yields the click sound. Anything could be a feedback. It could be vibrational, like the little Xbox controller. It could be anything. Now, let me give you a best example that I can think of something that man made that gave perfect feedback. Introducing the door knockers. I lift it, I slam it, it produces a sound. Click. Case closed. Feedback was given to the user. Perfect. Now, keep in mind that we're not talking about feedback is not when the door opens and your host says, hey, come on in. Feedback is when you hear that sound from them.